Hello survivors, welcome to a brand new Soulstone survivor video. Today we are playing with the Myrmidon and we are going to be using her second weapon. The reason for that is the Insicive strike, which deals damage based on your critical strike chance as well as applies the trait piercing. What piercing does is the projectiles launched by the skill deal extra damage based on how many targets they hit directly. So the more we hit, the more damage the skill is going to do. So a little bit of positioning is needed for this to deal a lot of damage to bosses, but we're going to grab critical strike chance to increase its base damage, and then we're also going to grab obviously other thrust skills to get arcane thrust, because we've got arcane disc, which is piercing, arcane spark, which is piercing. We'll grab a Mart for more damage, precision wave for critical strike chance. The main skill is going to be incisive strike for the piercing, and then we've also got ourselves sharp spear, which is form haste and piercing as well, so even more critical strike chance. We also get, we could go this for form, but it's not really necessary. So with regards to runes, we are running weapon expert, reroll mastery, and endless refill. We then got Divine Legacy, Synergetic, Advanced Tactics, and Battle Proficiency. And our weapon itself is going to be at the level of the second weapon over here. And that's going to give us a bleed, unfortunately, which is a little... I don't understand why it's bleed for this weapon, but it is. And that's going to kind of not work for us, but they'll add additional damage, so it's whatever. It doesn't actually matter too much, but let's get straight into it. We'll start it off on a +5, because one, critical strike chance is actually quite difficult to scale, but two, we also can't we also don't know how strong it is to use piercing. So the boss we need to defeat is going to be Midorahk. This is the one that's going to give us the piercing. So we can focus on that first, get the Midorahk, get the piercing, and go from there. We're on 60% critical strike chance. We of course need to increase that as much as possible and see where we can go from there. The only thing I wished was that it wasn't bleed, but it is what it is. You can try this on different characters. You can of course just grab thrust mastery on them. As long as the character has arcane, you will be able to find the other skills on them as well, like the arcane spark and the arcane disc and things like that. So there are other characters like the necromancer who gets a soul, what's it called again? Soul something, which is also piercing, and that's also a pretty strong skill. So that's also another thing that you could do. There's a whole lot of different options, but there's projectile skills that have piercing as well, like Summon Ballista has piercing. There's a whole lot of them. Ricochet shot, Summon Ballista, and the other one is Bladed Chakram. So those three projectile skills all have piercing as well. Okay, there's Sharp Spear, that's perfect. Remember, what we need to do is actually walk away from the monster that we want to be fighting, and the reason for that is we want things to be in between them. So when you do pierce them, you pierce other monsters and you deal a whole lot more damage. But we do get our Ascension, which deals damage, gives us armor, cast frequency, and movement speed as well. So when things are rough, we can use that. Area of effect could be quite a big one as well, but we're going to stay away from area of effect for this one. We are maining a thrust skill, so it's not really that necessary. We are going to have to aim regardless. Even if it had a massive AoE, we're still going to kind of aim in the general direction of whatever it is that we're trying to hit. So we'll just do that, and we'll keep the visuals on so we can see what's happening. Okay, so that's the thing. We don't need the bleed. We're going to go multicast. Multicast for missile types, which this is. So that's going to help quite a lot. And then we just looking, we wanted Mart. That's really good. Area of effect we can grab, that's fine. And we need the other skills now. Oh, there was another brutal skill that I didn't actually know about. Okay, thrust to holy, we can grab one or two just so we get the skills. There's the next one. And we are just waiting for the last buff. Wherever it may be. Precision wave, can you show yourself? There we go. Perfect, so skip those. We got the skills we're looking for. We get a form to haste for the movement speed. And now all of our skills, except for two of them, which are buffs, are piercing. So all of our damage is piercing, and we can go from thrust to holy, we can go arcane to thrust, and so on and so forth. We just got to make sure that, of course, we're doing the damage. But damage looks to be pretty decent. You could maybe do this on a +1, +2. But sometimes these skills just don't do enough damage. Luckily, we are scaling in terms of we got criticals to scale. So that's one thing we can do to kind of increase it. Also, grabbing a loot goblin here is fantastic. One, for divine legacy and levels, but two, also because it allows us to fight a Midorahk a second time in a row to get another piercing upgrade. So that's actually really, really good. Also, we do need to take the increased critical strike chance as much as possible when we see it. So when we see critical strike chance increase, we need to grab it. Okay, so there is a thing here. As you can see, this is the only physical... Okay, these two are the only physical tags, although this is also... So, okay, we're going to take the physical. The damage is only necessary on Insicive Strike, but because of physical scaling, this is also going to get increased. So it goes from 55 critical strike chance to 80. So we just got ourselves 30%, 25% increased critical strike chance, and it also just increases the base damage of the Insicive Strike. So pretty good. That's up to 4.6 times the damage now. It's nice when you get... I like Precision Wave. I don't know why I don't use it more often. It's just because the critical scaling skills, there's only like... I mean, maybe you could get to like 600. You can get to 1,000 actually from form. But maybe we should have done that as well. But I like to go thematic, so let's just use piercing, because the point for today was piercing, not for the critical strike chance. It just so happens to scale with crit. So definitely improvements can be made to the build itself, but we're looking specifically for other things. This one, they don't need to crit, so we can get rid of that. The crit chance there is fine. Critical strike damage. Cast frequency, we just need it to be below 10 seconds, which it is, so now we can get rid of its cast frequency. And I'm talking very quickly, so let's try and explain that again. So the way that buffs work is they've got a duration and they've got a cooldown. If the cooldown is less than the duration, the buff will permanently be active. So you can banish the cooldowns of those buffs to then get yourself more passives for other things that you might want. So you can banish duration as well as cooldown as soon as the cooldown is lower than the duration. Now, you can't multicast buffs, but you can increase their potency, which is their increased amount of whatever the buff does. So increasing damage, like the legendary physical damage increases, is the same as grabbing a potency upgrade for those buffs. So in this case, it goes from 80% all the way up to 95%, and that means we're going to get 95% critical strike chance increased whenever we get Precision Wave there, which is then in turn going to increase the damage multiplier on our Insicive Strike. So pretty good. Also, on a build like this, we can probably remove armor and block, because we not on a hard difficulty. I doubt there's an attack that should one-shot us, and as long as we scale HP, we should be fine. So that's all that. Alright, last fight, and then we've got the boss. And we can go for the potency over here. That's beautiful, although the cast frequency would be good as well. But an increase to our damage is always wanted and needed, so I'm happy to just grab that. The only thing is there's not a lot of monsters on this map. Like, it's very difficult for us to scale piercing, because remember, piercing deals more damage to the last enemy hit. So the more enemies that are pierced in a line, the last enemy in that line will take the most amount of damage, if that makes sense. Grabbing those, potency increase there. Arcane to thrust is going to be good, because that's going to keep a Precision Wave active for longer, and it also allows us to use Sharp Spear and Insicive Strike more often. Okay, I mustn't forget that we've got our the loot goblin available. And we can actually just run away as far as possible. We do need to make sure that Incisive Strike is hitting stuff. But as long as we can keep away from the boss, we should be doing the most amount of damage to it. Because as soon as something walks in front of you, you're going to do more damage to them. Movement speed. And there we go. Increase the damage bonus of the piercing trait. So right now, the piercing trait is 20% extra damage. We're going to pick that up, and it's now 80% extra damage. So that's multiplicative damage, by the way. That's why it's saying extra damage and not increased damage. So as far, I mean, I'm spitballing it there, but that makes sense to me that it is multiplicative. It's not a detail that I've double checked, but I'm pretty sure, I'm like 99% sure that that is actually a multiplicative scaling. All right, we do actually get a Disarray, which means we can go Disarray to Disoriented as well, which might be a pretty decent idea to do. Damage increases here. We do get a multicast, which I will actually take. That was for magical, so it was the arcane skills as well as that skill. We can go for cross frequency, and I would like to see a rare crit anytime soon. That would be quite nice, but as you can see, we're not receiving them. Also, I level up every so often. Grabbing duration might be easier than grabbing cast frequency, but no. I mean, we just do that. The reason we're doing it every so often is because we want to get the magnetics, but the game isn't actually giving us any. Over there, I should have taken the crit over the Disarray, but it's fine. It's not the end of the world. Another slow to Disarray. That should be more than enough. Pick up more movement speed. A form to haste will be even more movement speed. We've only got one skill, isn't it, that has haste? Or form, actually. Oh, we got radiance as well, which is pretty good. More cast frequency, more of that. I need to start locking skills a bit more because we've got the opportunity to do so. And we can actually grab Midorahk again right in a row because of having the whole goblin there. So now we should be doing more damage. 80% more damage to be precise. Alright, there we go. Finally, the cast frequency is lower than the duration. Okay, we are actually getting quite a decent amount of form. So we're sitting on 6.6 times damage, which is really good because I was worried about how much damage you could do. But the fact that you can actually scale the critical strike chance quite well here as well means that you're going to have a really good time with the skill. Which means it's a scaling skill in a sense, but doesn't scale as well as the dot skills do. Getting those multiplicative scaling damage numbers is always interesting as to how they work. There is going to be a very interesting one soon for you guys with a block. Busy working on it, but we do have a block build coming very, very soon. I just can't guarantee a date or time, so just know there will eventually be a full block build coming. Hopefully trying to get to like wacky numbers of block. And block is much easier to scale than armor because there is the swing skills which give you block. And then there's also the war tank rune, which gives you 50% increases to whatever blocks you get. So what war tank does is, you know how like Bulwark has a 1000 block cap. What happens is war tank will make that. It doesn't change the cap, but instead of just getting 1000 block, you would get 1500 because you're getting 50% more. So every time you pick up block, let's say you pick up a 10 block, you're going to get 50% more from that. So you'll actually make it 15 instead, sort of thing. So it's a very, very powerful rune when you are playing with block specifically. But you do lose a dodge, so you do have to be careful. But who needs to dodge when you're practically immortal? Okay, that went very quickly. Lethality, of course. Let's reroll here. I don't think we need the I can't remember what it was. But anyway, whatever. Cast frequency, potencies for the crits, good. Damage increase and multicast. We'll grab all of those. Again, cast frequency, increase the critical damage bonus. So it goes from 20 to 26%. So whenever we pick up further, our trident, we gain 26% increased critical damage. So it goes from 544 up to whatever number we'll have to see. I wasn't standing on the circle. The circle needs to be closer to the door. So if you preemptively stand on it like I just did, it's not a problem. Alright, so now we try and hit enemies between ourselves and Midorahk, so we can do the most amount of damage. Just remember, the more piercing, the better. This is one of those skills where you don't want to melee the boss. You want to be as far away from the boss as possible. Okay, potency increase over there. And we grab the piercing buff again. So it went from 80% to 140%. So we get about 60% every single time, which is pretty decent. Alright, so we go for Aruanak now, so we can get the Disarray to Disorientated. 326 and 544, pretty decent. And after that, we are going to actually go and grab ourselves exposed from Mhyzahet, which we probably should have done first and left Aruanak as the last boss, because this could be quite an interesting one. Alright, so we picked up our trident and we went up to nearly 700 critical strike damage, so pretty good stats. Remember, we just want to try and be as far away but close enough to actually hit the bosses, if that makes sense. As long as there are enemies between you and the bosses, you should be fine. Okay, finesse is beautiful to grab. We can grab more of those. Critical to slow is fine. HP is fine. Cast frequency, we don't need that. Potency is great. And then I don't think we'll need the armor and the block chance either, so we can probably remove those. Just so we can get more juicy damaging passives and multicasts. Area we don't need. Relentless is good. We don't need the cast frequency there anymore. We don't need you. Potency is good. Slow we don't need anymore. Haste I don't think we do need. No, not really. We don't. We could grab one more, but we don't really need it. Okay, we don't need the slow. We'll grab Behemoth. HP is always good, regardless of build. It just helps you to maybe hit one or two, survive one or two hits more than you usually would be able to. So I do generally keep HP if I am going to be doing stuff. Ooh, it really depends on the build though. Totems, you want as much HP because they actually get Ancestry and Fortitude, which means they scale off of your HP as well. So very good skills to keep HP for. Don't need that. We've only got one more. I grab the armor reduction, I guess. Skill chain we don't need. We're just going to go for damage if we can find it. There we go. And we can get multicast. Beautiful. Potency increase and a disarray. Sitting at a 10.3 times with the just under 4k base damage. So what's that, about 40,000 damage, if that's how it works. which isn't that high actually if you think about it compared to some of the skills. I mean, if we went for, I need to do like a singular focus, not a singular focus, but a single skill, seismic shock, the skill that the more enemies it hits, it spreads its damage out. But if you're fighting like certain bosses, you can maybe one tap them with enough damage as they spawn before any ads spawn. That would be quite funny to see or to do. So that is an idea, a plan for the future as well. Guys can let me know if that's something you'd like to see. I'm still not getting a lot of blue. I haven't seen any blue critical strike chance passives actually. And there we go. Let's go defeat the spider. We do get Disarray to Disoriented. Picked up 2 more magnetics. We'll probably not pick up any more unless they're rare, like the ones we just got. But this will probably be the longest fight. No, actually Midorahk will probably be long. I mean, not Midorahk, sorry. Mhyzahet will be longer just because of how the fight works. But as long as they keep spawning enemies, we should be fine. And this is without the Ascension active. But this is also why we did it on a lower difficulty, because we weren't sure how strong it would actually be. This is like my test run, and you guys all get to experience it with me. Okay, Disarray to Disoriented, fantastic. Let's go to Mhyzahet, get the exposed on hit, and move on from there. So, and then we've got the corrupted Void Hunter and the Void King, but we should be very strong. And every single Titan should make you feel stronger. As a skill, obviously, it is very possible to scale more form into the build and get even more critical strike chance. But you capped at like 1,000, and we nearly had 1,000 critical strike chance just from our precision wave. So I say nearly, we're only on 300, but that's much easier to scale than anything else. And then you just grab critical strike chance upgrades. So it's easy. We're actually not going to do a form to haste. Multicast is fine. Let's go grab damage increases like that one. And then we're still looking for damage increases like this one over here. That's beautiful. Multicast chance is actually also pretty good here. And then we just reroll for more crits. We've got so many rerolls anyway. Area of effect, we'll grab one, why not? But yeah, every single passive you gain, you get stronger because you go for the multicast, you go for the cast frequency. All those upgrades make a massive, massive difference. You know, the lower the cooldown of the skills, the more piercing you're going to have out there, the more radiance you're going to have out there, the more critical strike chance you're going to have, and all that stuff. So it just makes sense to get all this. The more fervor we're going to gain because we'll be defeating more enemies quicker. I'm just hoping our Tardent Strike, Oceanic Strike, doesn't do more damage than everything else, because then that's like a... Then that just means this will not do better on higher... on any higher Titan hunts. Okay, Finesse is good, Potencies are good, Critical Strike Chance is good. Sitting on 588 Critical Strike Chance and a 12 times multiplier for damage. And then we've also got Disarray, which increases your damage. See, a build like this, and we could have done it, is grabbed Critical Mastery, Critical Strike Mastery. Also would have been really good, because without thinking, we're scaling Critical Strike Chance. So I didn't think about it in the Ruin selection. I wasn't like, oh, we're going to be scaling this, get that. We just kind of went for it. So in future, you know, something that you can think of is grabbing the Critical Strike Mastery, maybe instead of... I don't know, we'll see after the round if you can actually add it in, because I don't think you can. It's a 2 cost and we've only got one point left to add something. So I don't even think there's space for it, but maybe dropping Synergetic or even Divine Legacy, but the damage increase from Divine Legacy to get potency on your buffs is massive, so I don't see why you wouldn't grab that. But maybe Synergetic can be dropped because the only synergy really is, you don't need those Synergetic skill upgrades. So you can drop Synergetic, grab yourself the crit mastery instead, and you'll be doing far more damage that way because you'll increase your critical strike damage. And since you're scaling quite a lot of crit chance, it makes a lot of sense to do that. 618% effective potency. As soon as it's active, 500 plus critical strike chance. Alright, so we need to try and hit scorpions along the way and hope that our attacks go and affect the boss. And that's going to provide us with the most amount of damage. This is probably the safest build because you actually want to be sniping enemies and being far away from them. And that's going to increase your overall damage to them as well. So it allows you to stay far, far away from the boss. And there we go. We've got so many passives over here. It's so unnecessary. Grab exposed on hit. And just for the Corrupted Void Hunter and the Void King, I'm going to turn these down or off. I know you guys like it on so that we can follow, but I'm just going to turn it off so that we stop hovering over it.
Blood and honor, let the portal break to me.
Or Titan blood over the ancient ruins. Man, we haven't received another dodge this whole game. And like yesterday's game, we received 4 of them or 3 of them. That's crazy. I think we only received 2. Just felt a lot because Assassin gets an extra dash.
Time to cut the king's head off. His magic falters.
Okay.
Open that door.
I'm stuck on a wall. That's okay though. Just hoping, like we mentioned, Insicive Strike is the highest damaging number skill. If it's not, yeah, then we have a serious issue here. Not that it's an issue because we're winning regardless, but I mean in terms of what we expected versus reality is an issue. The expectation is for Insicive Strike to be doing the most amount of damage. The reality is it's very possible it's Oceanic Strike, which is our Ascension, that's doing the most amount of damage. And we're just hoping that it's not the reality. Thrust damage increase, we don't actually need that, so we'll keep going. Damage, crit, beautiful. Finesse. Finesse is good. The only reason we're scaling is Finesse is for the multicast. I guess we can grab 1 more haste. But yeah, that Finesse is really good. We're gaining 260 odd amounts, so we're getting a lot of multicast as a base stat over there as well, which increases our damage overall. So, you know, why wouldn't we want to do that? And then as you can see, we just pump the damage into the boss like so. And that's without our Ascension, so I think our damage is pretty good without it. Let's go beat the boss up. Cast frequency, damage, crit. I mean, I think right now, even if we get more crit, is it actually helping? Well, the answer to that question is yes, it is, because the base stat of the critical damage multiplier goes up, and therefore when we do add the precision wave, it goes up even more. So 3.2 is the base. We were getting about 13%. Let's see what the number goes up to now. We need more form first though. Alright, this one actually, that's a lot of damage being dealt to the That's a lot more damage than I thought would do to him. Definitely able to do this on a higher difficulty. Didn't think that was the case though originally, but you know, surprise myself sometimes with the damage that we can deal. We're grabbing damage cast frequency and movement speed. And let's go. This is probably going to be the easiest one because he is so stationary as well. So we literally just hold our mouse over there. Turns out we don't have to get rid of the passives on the left hand side because the boss stays in a specific area. So we can just hover our mouse over him and move around in that way. Alright, beautiful. And now he sits in the corner again. So we just stand here. Just got to watch out for those attacks that deal the area of effect on the floor by us. But maybe we can defeat him before anything like that shows up. And we did. So let's see what dealt the most amount of damage. That was actually a really fun, really surprising amount of damage coming out from it. I didn't expect it to do so well, and there we were. So it definitely did do the most amount of damage, which is beautiful. Oceanic Strike doing the least amount, which is perfect. That's what we like to see, as well as Radiance. Our Servants nearly dealt more damage than Sharp Spear, though, which is very, very surprising. These guys are relatively strong, which is cool to see. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe for more videos like this in the future. And always remember, keep safe, survivors. Until next time, cheers.